Once upon a time, deep in the emerald heart of Taiwan's misty peaks, there lived the Shao people. Their world was a tapestry of vibrant greens and shimmering waters. Every morning, the sun would spill its golden honey over the ridges, waking the forest with a gentle touch. Children ran barefoot through dew-kissed grass, their laughter echoing through the valley, while the brave Daijian tended to the fertile fields with a sturdy hand. The clever Shuisha hummed ancient melodies as she gathered water from the crystal stream. Life was a peaceful song, and the future felt as bright as the morning sky. But peace is a fragile thing. One fateful afternoon, as the village went about its chores, a chilling wind swept down from the heights, a wind that carried the scent of old, damp caves. Without warning, the sun, in all its midday glory, was snuffed out like a flickering candle. Poof! The world plunged into a sudden, terrifying shadow. Hose were dropped, voices rose in a panicked chorus. Where's the sun gone? Why has the warmth left us? A heavy, unnatural darkness began to swallow the mountains whole. The dawn did not come the next day, nor the day after that. Even the silver moon, the gentle guardian of the night, had vanished from the stars. The world turned cold, a deep, biting chill that seeped into the very bones of the earth. The corn withered in the fields. The flowers bowed their heads in sorrow. Children huddled close to their mothers by dying embers, whispering, "Will the light ever return?" The joy of the valley had been replaced by a hollow, haunting silence. In their darkest hour, the oldest elder of the tribe leaned heavily on his gnarled staff and gathered everyone around a flickering torch. His voice was a dry rasp like autumn leaves. "My children," he sighed, "this is no natural storm. Deep within the forbidden waters of the Great Lake, two ancient dragons have awakened, one of gold, one of silver. They have always craved that which shines, and they have stolen our sun and moon to be their playthings." A shiver ran through the crowd, for no soul dared to approach those cursed waters. Just as hope began to fade, young Daijian stepped into the light of the torch, his eyes burning with a fierce resolve. "I will not stand by while our people perish in the cold," he declared, his voice ringing like a bell. "I will find these dragons and take back our sky." Beside him, Shuisha stepped forth, her hand finding his. "You shall not go alone, Daijian. The dragons are as clever as they are cruel. I have the ears to hear their whispers and the mind to outwit their traps. Together we will bring back the dawn." On the morning of their departure, though it was as dark as midnight, the entire village came to offer their blessings. The elder knelt to tie the strongest straw sandals to their feet, his hands trembling slightly. "Take care, brave ones," he whispered. "The hope of the Shao people walks with you. With nothing but a single torch and the courage in their hearts." Daijian and Shuisha turned away from the warmth of home and disappeared into the vast, devouring blackness. The journey was a grueling trial. Without the sun to guide them, every step was a gamble. They climbed jagged ridges that sliced like knives and waded through icy bogs that threatened to pull them under. Daijian's legs were torn by briars, but he never slowed. Shuisha, sensing his fatigue, would gently steady him. "Listen," she would whisper. "I can hear the distant roar of the water. We are getting closer, Daijian." Hold on. They entered the forest of whispers, where the trees grew so thick that the air felt like velvet. Strange, unseen creatures rustled in the undergrowth, and glowing red eyes peered from the hollows of ancient oaks. Shuisha gripped her spear, her voice a low warning. Stay close. The shadows are watching. But Daijian raised his torch high, his voice booming through the trees. We fear no darkness. We seek the light. His defiance was a beacon that sent the forest monsters scurrying back into the depths. As their strength began to wane, a faint, ethereal fragrance drifted on the breeze, and a soft, prismatic glow beckoned from a crevice in the rocks. Look! Daijian gasped, pointing ahead. They scrambled through the narrow opening and found themselves in a hidden grotto. The walls were encrusted with celestial crystals that hummed with a soft light, illuminating a stone altar that sat in the very center of the cave. Resting upon the altar were two artifacts of legend, a massive axe forged from pure gold and a pair of scissors wrought from shimmering silver. As Daijian's fingers closed around the handle of the axe, a surge of ancient power raced through his veins. When Shuisha lifted the silver scissors, they let out a chime as clear as a mountain spring. These are not mere tools, Shuisha whispered in awe. These are gifts from the mountain spirits. With these, we have a fighting chance. At last, they stood upon the shores of the great lake. The water was as black as obsidian, and the air was so cold it turned their breath into frost. There was no ripple, no sound, only a heavy, suffocating silence. Daijian knelt by the water's edge, staring into the abyss. Look deep, he whispered. Do you see them? Two spheres of light trapped in the belly of the lake. They took one final breath of mountain air, knowing the battle was finally at hand. Suddenly, the lake erupted. Two colossal dragons, beasts of nightmare and myth, burst from the surface, churning the water into a maelstrom. The golden dragon had scales like armor and held the sun in its jagged maw. The silver dragon coiled through the air like a ribbon, tossing the moon from tail to claw as if it were a common stone. They roared in a thunderous duet, blissfully unaware that two mortals stood ready to challenge their reign. Now, Shuisha, for the village, Daijian cried. Without a second's hesitation, he threw himself from the cliff, a golden streak descending into the churning foam. Shuisha followed instantly, her silver scissors gleaming like a fallen star. They plunged into the freezing depths, their hearts fueled by a fire that no water could extinguish. Beneath the waves, the battle was a chaotic dance of bubbles and blood. Daijian swung the golden axe with the strength of 100 men. Every blow sent a shockwave through the water. The golden dragon lashed out with claws that could crush boulders. But Daijian was a blur of movement, his axe biting deep into the dragon's scales. "Give it back!" He roared through the spray. "The light does not belong to you!" While the golden dragon was occupied, the silver dragon sought to strike from the shadows. But Shuisha was ready. She moved through the water with the grace of a huntress, her silver scissors flashing in the gloom. With a decisive snap, she sheared through the dragon's long whiskers, sending it into a blind, thrashing frenzy. "Your greed ends today," she shouted, her voice cutting through the roar of the water. In a final, synchronized surge of bravery, the two heroes struck as one. The golden axe found its mark in the dragon's heart, and the silver scissors pierced the veil of the dragon's power. With a final earth-shaking moan, the great beasts sank into the lightless trenches of the lake, never to trouble the world again. The sun and the moon, freed from their captors, began to rise slowly toward the surface like bubbles of pure hope. Daijian and Shuisha broke the surface, gasping for air as they heaved the heavy sun upward. "Go!" Daijian exhaled, hurling the sun into the heavens with the last of his strength. Shuisha followed, casting the silver moon toward its celestial throne. In that heartbeat, the sky cracked open. Golden light flooded the valley, shattering the darkness. The forests turned a brilliant emerald, the flowers bloomed in an instant, and a magnificent rainbow arched across the sky. Back in the village, the people poured into the streets, weeping with joy as the warmth returned to their skin. Children danced in the newfound light, and the elder's face was wet with tears. "They did it," he whispered. "The light is back." Drums began to beat, and a grand feast was prepared. The valley was alive again, buzzing with the sound of music and the smell of roasting corn. Daijian and Shuisha returned to the shore, exhausted but at peace. They knew that as long as they lived, they must guard the lake to ensure the dragons never rose again. Over many years, their bodies began to change, merging with the very earth they had saved. Daijian became the towering Mount Daijian, and Shuisha became the elegant Mount Shuisha. They stood as eternal sentinels, side by side, watching over the waters for all time. Today, we call this place Sun Moon Lake, for one side is shaped like the radiant sun, and the other like a crescent moon. When you stand on its shores and see the light dancing on the water, remember the two who gave everything for their people. This is more than a legend. It is a reminder that even in the deepest dark, courage can kindle a light that never goes out. And that, my friends, is the story of the sun and the moon.